You what? Yeah, there you go. Hi there, welcome to the Carroll School Board meeting. It's 6 p.m. We're going to get started. Can I get a call to order, please?
Mr. Abbott? Present. Mr. Bratton?
Present.
Mr. Jimmy Johnson? Mr. Rod Johnson?
Present.
Mrs. Sherman?
Present. We'll stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, we have two changes for the agenda tonight. We need to add 9.8a. On 9.8a, we are adding fall and winter.
Which
If I can find it, hold on 1 second. 9,
Okay. Here.
8.
I got you.
You need it right here?
Under varsity cheerleading event?
Yeah, right here.
Fall in.
I'm sorry, guys. It is 9C 8A.
Yep.
9C 8A. Read in fall and winter.
Fall and winter varsity cheerleading right here.
Got it.
You guys got that?
Yep.
Okay. And then we also need to add the addendum on 10B for the approval of the statement. Approve the statement from the Board of Education as proposed. And that's it, right? Okay. And can we get a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Rod Johnson, motion, and second, Mrs. Joe Abbott. Can we get a roll call, please?
Mr. Rod Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes. And we approve the minutes. Anybody have anything from the minutes? No?
No change.
I haven't seen anything. All right, can I get a motion?
So moved. Second.
All right. Motion made by Joe Abbott, seconded by Mr. Bratton. Can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Rod Johnson?
Yes.
Yes.
Mrs. Sherman?
You have a list? Right, awesome. We're moving into public participation. A citizen granted permission to address the board shall speak no longer than 3 minutes at one time, except by consent of the majority of the board members present. A maximum of 30 minutes of public participation may be permitted at each meeting. The Carroll Board of Education policy requires that individual names not be used as part of a complaint or concern being stated to the board during the public participation part of the agenda. The board rests in its president the authority to terminate any remarks which may be defamatory, abusive, or otherwise call undue interruption or interference with the orderly conduct of business. Do you want to do this? But we've got updates together.
Yeah, we'll do the
We're gonna do ours together.
We have elementary school updates.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I'd like to, Vicki Pease, elementary primary principal, and I'd like to discuss tonight our newest staff member that we had this year at the elementary school. And I'm passing out the school picture, and that is Sheila, our therapy dog that the board approved for our school this year. And that is a true school picture. She got the pictures taken when all the other students did. So as Mr. Rozeski, I'd like to share a little bit about Sheila and our therapy dog. It's kind of hard just to put her into words because you really have to see and observe her impact on our students and our staff. And it's really been dynamic to me. I just watch as students come in, starting their day together, and Sheila may be out in the hall with her handler, and you might see that sad little face like coming in, and they see Sheila, and then their eyes light up, and there's a smile on her face, and it's literally turning that frown upside down on us. I mean, it's just amazing to see. And it's not just kindergartners or first graders that love to stop and see Sheila. It's, all grades, all the way up through 5th grade, and even our staff people. They stop by oftentimes at our counselor's office and stop in to say, "Hi, Sheila, how are you doing today?" Give her a pet. I actually saw one day a couple months ago at the end of the school day, everybody had left, and I was walking back down the hall, and actually a staff member who was in the counselor's office, and she was lying down next to Sheila and petting her. So it's not only just students that sometimes need that decompression, but staff members as well. I guess what I can say is going into this year, thinking, oh, we're gonna have a therapy dog. Oh gosh, what's that gonna look like? Wow. And now I say, what took us so long? It has been an incredible experience. And again, you can't really understand it until you see how she works. She comes Mondays and Fridays, and she starts her day, and she's just like lumping in. She's just so happy. And then by the end of the day, she's like going back out so tired because she's really done what she is needed to do for our staff and students. So I just wanted to give you an update on Sheila. Right now, she's on break with our school social worker who just had a little girl, Delaney Ray. And Sheila is missed, but we have school pictures that we hand out to students if they need to see her, and some other things that have been left behind for students to enjoy. But I do want to say thank you for taking that step and at least trying it. And I just wanted to let you know that to me and to our students, it's been a successful program. Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I'm
Steve?
going to jump in there as well. And I know I have kids ask me, they know I live close to where Ms. Jablonski does, and they've asked me to go and maybe pick up the dog occasionally and all that. But in all seriousness, thank you, Board of Education, Mr. Hahn, and Mr. Bigham, for seeing the importance of this and allowing us to try it out. I mean, it really is, there are teachers who keep dog treats in their classroom when Sheila makes her rounds. But just seeing the kids and the staff, I mean, the dog, I can see why he goes home exhausted at the end of the day, just like we do. And I just look forward to continuing. And just on another note, just give you an update academic-wise, it just feels so great to have a normal school year. I mean, I feel, we're in even more of a better routine this year with the building, the lay of the land, and just having that space. And, when we have 2 IEP meetings, we have space to have both meetings going on. That I just appreciate the use of this building. I see teachers that are collaborating, pulling kids together. I have a 3rd grade teacher who takes her kids monthly to go read with kindergarten students. And being able to do that, and primary and intermediate teachers being able to meet and discuss within the building and not having to do email or phone calls and those kind of things. So it's just, I think, a great school year. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, we have one person signed up for public participation, Scott Green.
Good afternoon. I'm here to address professionalism in my eyes and hypocrisy with the track and field. I think it was early last week. My son comes home and says, "Hey, I can't wear hats during middle school practice." I'm like, "Big deal. Just ask the coach why." And so he goes back. I'm all about rules. I didn't make it through 20 years of Marine Corps if I didn't like rules. So I get, especially middle school, good order and discipline is a must. Goes to the middle school coach, like, I just don't like hats. Okay, that's pretty dumb. While the high school's wearing hats and everybody else is wearing hats. So I'm like, hey, let me just make some calls. Call superintendent, had a nice chat with him. He had the athletic director call me. Not very helpful, kind of very squishy, like I don't know what she was really talking about in the first place. Apparently, teams are allowed to make their own rules, which is okay, whatever. So a couple days pass, and the head track coach calls me very upset, like yelling, not like conversation like we're having here. You don't call me and yell at me, so that's not cool. I tried to address how hypocritical it is for him to have different rules for the staff vice the students. So the students are not allowed to wear hats, but the coaches can. They should, as a leader, they should be setting the example. Not do as I say, not as I do, especially in middle school. I think that's pretty crazy. I would like him to apologize for me and maybe some leadership development. If it was, what should have happened is the middle school teacher should have just said, hey, the real reason why we don't have hats, my son's name, is because the coach said this, the head coach made this decision because we want to practice like we compete. I had to go through the middle school coach, superintendent, athletic director, and get an angry phone call from the head track and field coach while he's yelling at me, telling me it's his rule, his way, that's it, take your kid out of practice that you don't like. Like, I'm not gonna take my kid out of practice over a stupid baseball hat. That practice, that same day, so my son shows up like, hey, just play by the rules, it's just a hat. Head coach pulls him aside. Hey buddy, if you get caught on school campus with a hat in your possession, you're off the team. Now that's nuts, okay? I can play by the rules, don't wear hats. The coaches should set the example as well and not wear a hat. At the end of the day, we shouldn't even be having this discussion over something that's stupid because it's a hat. But the hypocrisy, the lack of leadership, the crazy angry phone call, and then picking on my son, that stops today. And I hope we can rectify that before tomorrow's track. You guys have a good evening.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
All right, we're moving on to 7, treasurer's recommendations and reports.
Okay, item A is approve the February financial statements for a total expense of $10,730,798.43, including $8.351 million in the consortium expenses. You have the February financials, that's on page 13 with the executive summary. Not a lot really going on, just as we're starting to get the advances on the public utility, and the real estate taxes are coming in obviously much higher than the prior year, as we talked about throughout the past couple of months. I do want to take this opportunity. I normally don't go through too much legislation with these reports, but House Bill 1, I put in a PowerPoint summary on page 32 of your packet, just a couple of bullet points that modify the law regarding property taxation in a significant way. So again, normally I don't go through this in this environment, but I think it's important that the board's aware of it. I've talked to Mr. Rod Johnson about it, but you can see there who's sponsoring it on the PowerPoint, and the summary basically is what House Bill 1 does is an automatic 10% reduction in the assessed valuation of real estate property, meaning currently assessed value of all properties in all districts in Ohio is 35% of the appraised value. So simple math, you have a $100,000 home, you're paying taxes on $35,000 of that. House Bill 1 presents a 10% reduction in the assessment rate, meaning it would go down to 31.5%, which is a 10% reduction because it's 3.5% of 35%. So just simple math tells you instead of the taxpayer paying on $35,000, now paying on $31.5. So as it's way it's currently written, if there's no change in the rates, that's an automatic 10% reduction for property tax revenue for governmental entities. The second part of that is, but it's also a reduction for the homeowner. However, the second part of that is the elimination of the 10% rollback. So as the tax bills are currently written in Ohio, you have your assessed valuation times the mills, but then the state pays 10% of that. That's called the rollback. And then you get a 2.5% if you own or occupy. So all of us and everybody here that lives in any district in Ohio is paying 87.5% of your tax bill. Well, what House Bill 1 would do is eliminate the 10% rollback. So what they've literally done is given you a 10% cut here, but put it back in over here. No change to the homeowner. The state's paying less, so the loser on all this really would be the school districts with a 10% reduction, which could be substantial, is substantial. This is the way it's currently written. It's going through hearings and testimonies. I actually believe there's a hearing tomorrow. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. This, in all of my career, I've never seen anything like this in terms of change to the property taxes and how they're assessed. So this could have a significant impact on the local homeowners as well as the school district. So just please be cognizant of that.
Can you talk a little bit about what we projected in regards to how it could have an effect on our annual budget with that?
Yeah, obviously we just had a triennial update in the county, so the district went up quite a bit with revenues because we're at the 20 mil floor. So if this were to go in as written, it would be about $900,000 annual reduction to our revenues. So you kind of get something over here, and then it's kind of taken away over here. And I understand the need and the pressure to reduce taxes, but this doesn't do that in the way it should in the way it was originally written. So just be aware of that. Again, Hospital One, it's not obviously in law. It's just going through quite a bit of hearings and testimony currently. So other than that, you can see the carryover, a little over $7.5 million as we go through some of our highest revenue months. Any questions on the February financial statements?
Yeah, real quick, Travis, on that. Tomorrow, the hearing is scheduled for tomorrow at 2:30.
Okay.
And there'll be the presentation on the Ohio Property Tax Law by the LCS, or LSC, the Legislative Service Commission. And within that, there's also, I think it's House Bill 920. It's an application that actually applies to it as well. So there's a lot of moving pieces with it. But
Yep.
you can have it to that point, if you guys are interested, for tomorrow. It is tomorrow from the tax law perspective. But it's something to be very cognizant about, possibly reaching out to your state representatives as well.
Okay. Any questions, comments? Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Motion made by Mr. Abbott, seconded by Mr. Rod Johnson. Can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Rod Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
Item B, approve the amounts and rates as determined by the Fairfield County Budget Commission, authorize the necessary tax levies, and certify them to the county auditor. As listed, general fund, debt service, permanent improvement. We've went over this when we looked at the new values. It's page 33 of your packet. What I didn't have was the certified values for the bond issue millage and the permanent improvement levy millage, which I do now have. And that's, again, on the sheet there. It's highlighted down there. Again, we're at the 20 mil floor for ag res. Our bond issues, both the one for the middle school and the one for this building, have now been decreased down to 6.4 effective mils. They were at 10.10 when they were both originally passed combined. And now our permanent improvement millage is down from 1.20 when it was passed down to 0.78. So you can see there the total mills that the homeowner would pay. This is the school portion only, of course, is 27.18 mils to Bloom Carroll, which is a decrease from last year. Obviously, the home values went up, but at least the rates themselves have continued to go down as they're rolled back.
Any questions? All right. I'll make this motion.
Second.
Motion made by Jenny Sherman, seconded by Rod Johnson. Can I get a roll call, please?
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
Mr. Rod Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
And Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
And finally, item C is approve a bid from Environmental Demolition Group for the asbestos abatement work at the high school as follows. The base bid was $341,000, alternate A, $32,175, for a total bid of $373,175. We had this bid last Wednesday. Jennifer inserted the bid tabulation sheet a little after the fact, but we only get 2 bids. However, this bid is from a very reputable group that our consultants have worked with and are very comfortable with. The total bid, base bid and alternate A, are below what we have with the grant through the Fairfield County grant. So we were able to not only do the base but also alternate A. I did put in a map in your packet again just to kind of reiterate which areas these include. So on page 37, the base bid again includes the cafeteria, the hallways, some of those classrooms as we get all the way down to the T, and then which Mr. Hahn and myself really agree that alternate A was important to get into that bid as well. Page 38, which is the office areas where the secretary, the principals, the guidance counselor were able to get that done as well. So again, another positive step forward in being able to finally complete this project.
And when are we doing, when is that, July? Is that June?
We're gonna start June 8th, and they have to be done by August 2nd. Again, the Brownfield grant is being used.
Right.
So it's a grant from the Department of Development. We won't be using permanent improvement funds or general fund dollars to do that we've been trying. I know the district's been trying for 10 years that I've been here.
And that came in under what we're getting from the grant?
Yeah, barely, but
What?
barely, but yeah.
Barely, but it did, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Great news in here. Any questions?
From Fairfield County.
Yeah.
They had, the commissioners had to apply for it, so we're like a sub-grant. This is through a sub-grant.
We could have been directed to the district, right?
Right, we weren't eligible, but we could get it through them.
That's great news. I'll make this motion again.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Jen Sherman, seconded by Matt Bratton.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Rod Johnson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Number 8, old business. A, approve the following policies. We have 1, CCA, which is an organizational chart. 2, IGBB, programs for students who are gifted. 3, JFE, student pregnancy and related conditions. And 4, KKA, recruiters in the schools. This is our last reading, right? This is our last reading on these, if anybody has any questions, but we need a motion, please.
I will make the motion, so moved.
Second.
Motion made by Joe Abbott, seconded by Mr. Bratton. Can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Rod Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes. Number 9, superintendent's recommendations and reports.
All right, thank you. Just to provide an update, obviously, I just wanted to acknowledge that there was, I think you're all aware of this, I've talked with you, but there is a student here in our district that's been diagnosed with cancer. The student is facing a long battle with treatment over the next 42 weeks. I have talked with his father. I know Mr. Brzezinski has done an amazing job reaching out to the family, supporting that family, and making sure that when they are ready, the health is a priority, but make sure that we're providing educational services. I don't want them to have to worry about anything like that. The father is a former student of mine from another district, so kind of have a close connection here, and just thinking of their family and just wanted to acknowledge what the Carroll family is going through right now. In terms of the PD day, we just had on March 6th. It was our first PD day since last fall. In September, we covered a number of topics in K-12, but it's also broken down throughout the day for K-3 teachers, K-2 teachers, K-5 teachers, 6, 7, 8, and then the high school teachers. But there are a lot of different topics. We did additional training, including mandatory reporting with CPS. And I want to thank Holly Kate from CPS, the supervisor who I've been working with. Also talked about signs and symptoms of abuse, the screening and the referral process, so the staff understands some of the challenges for CPS and what that referral process and everything that they have to go through in terms of when we pick up the phone and make those calls. Also had the Cody Tatum from the Harkham House. He's the executive director. He's a social worker, has a master's of science in social work. He is phenomenal. Really enjoyed working with him. But Cody also was here to help talk to our staff about this process and what those children advocacy centers do, and also talk about healthy relationships with students and what those obviously entail. We talked about, we had PD on letters, which is the language essentials for teachers of reading and spelling, which is targeted around the dyslexia law that will be implemented next school year. And we also, I want to thank Chief Brad Smith from the Greenfield Township Fire Department. He's been awesome to work with, very involved since he has taken over. They've helped us provide Stop the Bleed kits. They've provided Stop the Bleed training, for the district now on multiple occasions as a refresher, and the initial training. So just wanted to talk about some of those professional development topics for our staff. Also, just wanted to bring to your attention here in about 35 minutes, there is a meeting in the village of Carroll, a zoning hearing for a proposal for another housing development on Overley Avenue in Carroll Northern in the village of Carroll by Miller Farm Run. It would be the land to the east of Overley, just outside, it's in the village, but right across the street from Miller Farm Run. There's 182 single-family homes along with paired patio homes that are being proposed. It's a Fisher Homes proposal. I also wanted to let you guys know that obviously as we look at Fairfield County as the 4th fastest growing county in Ohio as of the last census, there's a lot of, in our superintendent meetings, we have a lot of concerns about the next 10 years, 15 years, and beyond. With having land designated for future schools, this county is projected to grow by about 55,000 residents by 2050. That's significant. There's a lot of students. Obviously, there's going to be other boards, other superintendents, and people that have to deal with this, but Fairfield County Regional Planning and the Commissioners and the Economic Development Task Force is working on a land use plan to look at really stretches of land throughout the county in that big 33 corridor especially, and how it's developed in the future. And one thing that, I've reached out to ask that in that land use plan that's being developed, that there are designated areas for schools with access to, you think about the challenges that we had and that we have in terms of limited acreage and access to county water, sewer, gas, three-phase electric, areas of land that are void of wetlands and right-of-way easements and federal or state restrictions. I think it's important in all these different school districts that this land use plan, when you look at the developments that are happening, in Lithopolis or in Carroll potentially, other parts that are unincorporated throughout the county, that this is included in this land use plan. We don't want them to overlook that, and we know that schools are an important part of every community, and we hope that they plan for that. So there's a meeting tonight taking place right now between 5 and 7 at the Workforce Center to go over and get input. So I can't be there because of this board meeting, but I did reach out to the commissioners in regional planning. I do serve as the education liaison on regional planning, and I will continue to emphasize the importance of this land use plan, including plans for schools throughout the county. So just wanted to update you on that. But this hearing in Carroll is taking place at 7 tonight. The high school abatement and bid, again, Travis went over that. That's one of the big projects coming up from a capital improvement. Staffing, we have several replacement positions that are posted right now. At our planning session, we'll be talking about some of our staffing needs, looking at next year. Really hiring season is well underway. It's starting earlier and earlier because it's so competitive to try to find the best teachers, the best support staff. And we have some jobs, and I believe we will be asking the board to approve some additional positions, just not replacement positions. The high school will have the ACT, the juniors, as you know, have an opportunity to take the ACT one time funded by the state. That is taking place on the 16th, on Thursday this week. Also want to congratulate all the new National Honor Society inductees from Luther High School. That ceremony is taking place on the 16th in the evening. You have an invitation from National Honor Society if you're able to make it. We will have a list of students for the next board agenda to recognize the new students inducted to the National Honor Society. And them, I think I'm really excited for. I'm always impressed with our performing arts program. And we have Shrek the Musical Junior coming up March 23rd through the 25th. Hopefully you can find a session to attend, but I just want to wish the cast good luck as they get ready to do that here in a couple weeks. So it's really neat to see the kids, what they're able to do.
Sean, in regards to personnel, like how many positions, I know we got a meeting here in 2 weeks, but ideally, personnel-wise, what are we looking at? How many heads down?
We could be looking at 6, 7, as we watch enrollment during the summer. Could be 8. That's probably not what's in the forecast. Travis can talk more about that. We'll probably do that at the March planning session in terms of looking at enrollment again, personnel. You have an enrollment update in your packet tonight.
2251.
2251. We're 6 students over the projections, which is really good. That's pretty accurate when we're talking 2,251 kids. But what they don't factor is, nobody knew when the projections were done. Nobody knew a year ago that there was 182 homes there. Obviously, we got the Wagnalls run. We've known about that for years, and the additional 219 plus homes that are coming in there. But we're just going to have to monitor it. We think that right now we're up 63. I told you we've been averaging about 70 over the last 5, 6, 7 years, and I think that's a safe number to continue to use right now.
We're up 70 so far this year,
We're up 63.
and 13 of those were in the first year back.
Well, yeah, we had 13 migrants run in one day.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's typically the summer though, isn't it?
Well, typically, that's when you see, mobility with students, but you also see it at the breaks, at the holiday breaks in the wintertime, but.
What was like last decade, isn't it?
Yeah, we were around there, but we knew, we were under what was projected, but we knew that with the homes that would be finishing in October, November, December, in Wagnall's Run, that we'd see an influx.
Still being off scope is pretty impressive.
And I did ask Cooperative Strategies to review, that after 1 year, part of that agreement was they would do a review if we requested it. I did request it, I sent them the numbers, so we'll see if it changes anything. I don't think it'll change too much, but if that's approved, the 182 homes, at a yield of, 0.8, but you're looking at 100. Yes, yeah, which was the highest subdivision yield.
You gotta think, plus, if that passes, location, people are gonna wanna move,
Right.
close to the campus, right?
Yeah. Now, the paired patio homes, if you drive up Route 33 by Speedway in Canal, Winchester, and you look across Route 33, there's a development right there.
Right.
Those are paired patio homes. And my understanding from talking to officials over there is that a lot of those homes have gone to senior citizens that don't want the hassle of owning your own property. And, well, they own the property, but they don't have to take care of all the maintenance of it. Right.
And so there's 182 traditional homes.
Single family is a combination. It includes single family and paired patio, but it's
And that
182 units. Any questions? All right, let's move on to 9B under students and programs. Approve the 2023-24 high school registration guide. Number 2, approve the 2023-24 middle school registration guide. And number 3, approve the one-to-one Chromebook replacement cost fees for the 23-24 school year. The one-to-one Chromebooks we started, 2 or 3 years ago. Travis, I think the cost of the Chromebook at the time was $225. I think we're paying $325 now.
Yeah.
So we needed to adjust that fee if it is lost.
I think it's pretty,
Registration guide information we give
yeah, I think it's pretty cool what forensic science is being added.
at the high school.
Yeah. so
Yeah,
That's a pretty cool class.
yeah.
I would make that motion.
I'll second.
Sorry, I was reading. Motion made by Joe Abbott, seconded by Rod Johnson.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Rod Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
All right, let's go on to 9C, personnel and employment. Approve substitute list number 8 for the March 2023 as submitted by the Fairfield County ESC. Number 2, approve the voluntary transfer of Jeremy McKinney from middle school teacher to high school science and social studies teacher effective with the 23-24 school year. Number 3, approve the following request for FMLA leave of absence for Brian Cottrell beginning February 1st, 2023 for up to 60 days. Number 4, approve the following requests for unpaid leaves of absence for Carmen Spellman, our transportation supervisor, effective March 15, 2023 for up to 58 days. And just so you know, Tony Stadler, our administrative assistant in there, has tons of years of experience and been doing a good job. We have been bringing in additional support for her to help with those hours. If not, they would be 12-hour days.
Right, right.
Number 5, approve the following request for an unpaid leave for Doc Day for Heath Stevenson, a high school lunchroom monitor on February 22nd, 2023. Number 6, approve the following home instructors for the 22-23 school year at the tutor hourly rate for Amber Harris for up to 50 hours and Brenda Cole for up to 72 hours. Number 7, approve the following classified substitutes for the 22-23 school year pending receipt of background checks for Alex Schreck as an aide lunchroom monitor and secretary, and Hillary Tallman as a lunchroom monitor. Number 8, approve the following athletic supplemental contract for the 23-24 school year pending receipt of verifications and background checks for Nicole Mascari for fall and winter varsity cheerleading advisor at Group B with 6 years of experience. And number 9, approve the list of school volunteers for the 22-23 school year pending receipt of background checks.
Any questions? I'll make this motion.
Second.
Motion made by Jen Sherman, seconded by Mr. Bratton. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Rod Johnson?
Yes.
All right, under D, under our contracts and agreements, number 1, approve a satellite program unit agreement with Eastern Fairfield Career and Technical Schools to operate a middle school career connections course for the 23-24 school year. We We are already operating this. It's an annual one-year agreement. We're already doing this, but it's a career connections class in which 8th graders are exposed to all the different career fields offered at Eastland Fairfield Career Center. And that way the kids are not kind of learning that, about this their sophomore year and then having to make a quick decision. So it's a semester class. We are, we've been able to work with the Eastland Fairfield Career Center and go from a semester to both semesters. We will have the instructor from Eastland Fairfield. So we'll be able to get more students in through that program.
Is that 8th grade?
8th grade, yeah.
8th grade.
Number 2, approve a master service agreement with Meta Solutions for fiscal services, EMA support, InfoHio library services, and progress book services effective July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. Number 3, approve a sub-grant agreement between the Fairfield County Board of Commissioners and the Blue Fair Local School District for the Ohio Department of Development Brownfield Remediation Program Grant Award, again, to the abatement project. Number 4, approve a resolution approving the government entity settlement documents upon review and consideration of the informed consent packet provided by Milestone Pathway, settlement offer letter for government entity claims against Jewel Labs, known as the settlement offer letter, and the government entity release of all claims, the description of confidential settlement agreement between Jewel Labs Incorporated and settling government entity plaintiffs. The board hereby agrees to both the settlement offer letter and description of settlement agreement as presented and authorizes or directs the president, superintendent, and treasurer to execute the same on behalf of the board pursuant to the incident resolution. A little bit of background on this. So 3 years ago, we joined about 10,000 plaintiffs, about 1,500 school districts across the country. It's considered a mass. It's called a mass tort case. It's not a class action case, but the mass tort, basically, you have a large group of entities. There's government entities, private entities, and you're still treated as an individual in that tort. And we have been kind of waiting to see all these 1,500 schools across the country, many from Ohio. And as you know, the vape and Juul and other manufacturers of these have targeted young people with flavors, with marketing, and the settlement agreement has been reached with Juul for the parent company, Philip Morris. And the settlement agreement basically states that for the vape industry, for Juul Labs, they have to follow the same standards as the tobacco industry and tobacco product marketing, which means they can't market flavors and they can't market to children. Okay, and then there's a monetary award to each entity. Again, about 10,000 plaintiffs, 5,000 different cases, with 1,500 are schools. And as you know, we've had to implement prevention programs like Catch My Breath, a lot of focus in our health curriculum in middle school and high school. Catch My Breath is in grades 6 through 8, which is educational, it's a prevention program to teach kids about the harmful effects of vaping products. But it's a real challenge, for all schools across the country, really globally. It's terrible what has happened, but they're starting to, we're starting to see, I believe students are becoming more and more educated about it and are making better decisions. We have installed vape detectors in our schools to help combat and discourage the use of it. That cost us some money. Obviously, we're recouping, I can say it, we got about $35,000 in the settlement, which is our share. After attorney fees, with attorneys from California, one from Columbus, they get about 35%. We get about $24,000, which basically covers the cost of the vape detectors that we installed. But this country's got a long way to go to combat what's happened to our youth with nicotine and other vape products. So, maybe this is a start. So.
Glad to hear it. Any questions? Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Rod Johnson, seconded by Matt Bratton. Can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Rod Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
And Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
Okay, nothing under 9E, 9F. We do have One, retirement resignation of Janet Copeland, a bus driver, and high school lunchroom monitor, effective May 26, 2023. And we need a vote on that.
Yeah, there should be a vote.
Yeah, it should be around.
Missed that, sorry.
Add it right there.
Yep. you did it.
We're gonna add a voting line right there. Can we get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Joe Abbott, seconded by Rod Johnson. Can we get a roll call, please?
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Rod Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
Okay.
All right,
Is
is that you?
Yeah, new business.
Yep. 10 is new business. 10A is approved David Cozier, professional engineer, to serve as a voluntary consultant on an as-needed basis for the press box replacement project. Any questions? Great. I think that's good news. I'll make this motion.
You got one more.
No, there's another,
We got it.
They have two
another voting
lines.
line. That's a separate.
Oh, that's separate.
yeah, it's under the voting line, sorry.
Sorry, it's
So I'm,
Second.
okay. Jen Sherman made the motion, Mr. Abbott seconded. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Rod Johnson?
Yes.
All right, and 10B is the addendum we put on tonight. Under 10 for new business is approve a statement from the Board of Education as proposed. I drafted a statement over the weekend and brought it tonight for approval for the community. I didn't know if anybody had any discussion or questions.
And I've read through it.
I know you all had a chance to look it over.
Looks
Wanna
like
make
it.
sure everyone was on the same page. Great, can I get it?
I'll make the motion.
A second.
Mr. Johnson made the motion and Mr. Bratton seconded. Can I get a roll call?
Mr. Rod Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
And Mrs. Sherman?
Yes. And 11, board reports and information. A, superintendent treasurer committee updates. Number 1, facility management. Mr. Abbott, Mr. Johnson.
We got a grant for the press,
For the press box.
for the press boxes.
Yeah.
So,
That's exciting.
Yeah. Be here before you know it, so.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And 2, personnel labor management. Mr. Bratton.
We did have a meeting, Mr. Johnson and I did, no updates at this time, but
That's coming soon.
we'll have
Gonna
another
be
one
busy.
probably soon.
Yeah.
3, OSBA representative,
Yeah,
Rod?
so our spring conference just wrapped up, last week on the 8th, I believe it was. That was the first time, Mr. I don't think we've had anybody recognize the spring conference in years. But yeah, so the other thing we mentioned earlier is just House Bill 1 and how the impact can have on our district overall from a financial perspective. So, just make sure you're paying attention to it, and Travis will provide us with some updates as we move forward.
Awesome. Policy, that was the last reading on policy.
Yeah, we have not received the new packet from OSBA, so we're just kind of waiting right now.
Sounds good to me. 5, safety, health, and wellness, Mr. Abbott.
nothing further.
And 6, finance, Brad, Mr. Johnson.
So we've got our planning meeting coming up next week, and Travis, you want to meet before that?
Maybe that, yeah, I was thinking that.
Yeah.
April's gonna be tight,
Yeah, I was
so.
gonna say, maybe we meet ahead of time before the
Okay.
29th meeting.
Before the 29th. Awesome. All right, B, upcoming PTO Booster Board of Education meetings. March 15th is the high school PTO at 7 p.m. in the high school cafeteria. 3/29 is the Board of Education planning session, which will be back in the middle school media center at 6 p.m. April 4th is the elementary school PTO at 6:30 in the elementary school media center over there. 4/6 through 4/7 is no school for spring break, and then that Monday, the 10th, is no school for a parent-teacher comp day. 4/10 athletic boosters at 7 p.m. in the middle school cafeteria. April 11th is the music boosters at 6:30 in the high school media center. April 17th is records commission meeting at 5:45 in the middle school media center. And that same night, we have a Board of Education regular meeting back over in the middle school media center at 6 p.m. At this time, for number 12, we'd like to adjourn from regular session and go into executive session to discuss matters which are the subject of pending or imminent court action. The time is 6:44. Thank you.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Bratton made the motion and Mr. Johnson seconded. Can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Rod Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
There's nothing after the executive meeting, right?
No,
No, we just,
just
there's nothing
dismiss,
left.
just dismissal.